localized, do-it-yourself effort that got a dynamic to it that I think is going to bring the best solutions out, and it's going to be locally appropriate. That's the cool part.
Roxanne, would you like to respond to that?
We couldn't hear that at all. We're having trouble hearing Peter's voice also. But
I'm sorry. Well, one of the things that Grant said is that he said that he feels that the one thing that the story of stuff has done for him is it's informed him enough so that he's been able to mobilize and take action on a local level. In other words, it's given him information which he's been able to distill and act on. And so he feels that its benefit is not so much that it was passive and just talks about the problem. He feels that part of its benefit was that it gave him the information to act and to take action, and it's allowed him to use it as a mobilizing force for other people. And Kira,
and really to focus on organizing locally and starting to take action in the world.
Correct.
I think it's great information to learn what's happening, but I think it's delusional to think that people can fix things or make this system equitable or just and try and work within this system to make that happen. We feel that it's the monetary system that causes the problems, that generates the values, and causes the strife and the wars and the bigotry and everything else that's disdainful to us. So I don't think that type of thing is going to fix the problem whatsoever. I think it's just as much effort when people work for a cause, say to have prisons stop whipping juveniles in prisons, and they work for that all their lives, and maybe they get somebody who gets elected and they stop the whipping, and when they're out of office another year later, the scars are back on their backs. So trying to fix things within this system does not work. It takes just as much effort to learn about a new system which can eliminate all the problems, or most of the problems, that we deal with today. It's a system where you don't have to fight for human rights or women's rights or Polish rights or black rights. It's a system that guarantees all of human rights, because that's what it's about. So, and it uses resources wisely, and it's just built into the system. You don't have to do those types of organizing to try and fix things. It's a system that makes things efficient, that we have total city systems on our website. It's backed up with technology, clean sources of energy, clean transportation. It deals with the entire spectrum. So we'd ask you to look into the Venus Project and the Zeitgeist movement.
So really what you're saying back is that, yes, you understand the point about, say the story of stuff, but put your energy into what the Venus Project and the Zeitgeist movement, because it's talking about a real solution, which is not trying to fix what's already broken, but actually creating something new.
And we need to go to another break, but maybe when we come back we could talk a little bit more about how do you get there from here, and a little bit more of the values you've talked about that are kind of the tenets or the foundation for the resource-based approach. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. You're listening to Good Vibrations, Tools for Transformation with Solazar and Kirillani on AM 540 KRXA. And before the break, we were talking to Grant about some of the things that he was trying to do locally. And Roxanne, you mentioned that, that some of those things that while we're in the system, we can't really change that system, if I understood the answer correctly. So maybe you all can share a little bit more of then how do we get there from here?
I think I can try to answer that. It takes economic recession to get people to think about things they ordinarily do not think about. For example, during the last Depression, many new ideas came up. Socialism, communism, fascism, mankind united. It was during the Depression, where millions of people were unemployed, that they began to ask questions. I'm sorry about that, but it takes economic conditions throughout the world when people begin to lose confidence in the people they elected to political office. Only then will they be looking for something new. I don't know that the Venus Project will come into existence. It depends on how much effort people put out to make it happen. We have no power, Roxanne and I have no power to make it happen. We have a method of social operation which people should question and criticize. For example, the basic operation is a new value system where children are taught in school how to relate to one another, how to get along with each other. There are art centers, music centers, cultural centers open to everyone without a price tag. And if you don't improve the quality of education today, you know, education today is more propaganda than education. In the future, no one will be a chemist or an engineer or a biologist. They will all be generalists, so no nation can use them to make weapons of war, atomic bombs. You know, a lot of the scientists and technicians in Germany fell in line with Hitler. In Italy, they fell in line with Mussolini. In America, they fell in line with the American way. I'm just saying there are no scientists. A real scientist would be concerned with the environment that affects all people and the well-being of all people. Other than that, you have phony science today. You don't have real scientists.
Well, Peter and Jacques and Roxanne, based on what we're seeing in the economy today, but based with our artificial bailout of some of the Wall Street and our artificial bailout of some of the auto manufacturers, I mean, are we at a precipice of reaching that economic point where you feel the world will take notice of a new way, a new economy, a new approach?
I can't really answer that. It depends on what you do. If you're really interested in eliminating war, poverty, hunger, and all of the problems that go with it, you've got to re-examine the values and the system that you're raised under. In other words, if you were raised in an uneducated region of the Deep South, not only will you speak with a Southern accent, but you reflect the values, facial expressions, everything of that subculture. You might even say, I'm gonna get me a nigger, now go and kick his ass. All that is learned. It's not an inborn thing. It's not part of human nature. Bigotry and prejudice is learned. And if you're brought up in a Nazi culture, that's the value system you pick up. Unless you've read other books before Hitler came into power. And if certain books are kept out of the library, such as Arms and the Men, how DuPont had holdings in the I.J. Farben, and pilots were ordered not to bomb the bomb depots in Germany because of course interest, vested interest. If you don't know those things, books like 100 Million Guinea Pigs should be in every library. It's not there. It attacks the drug companies. The drug companies don't do research on celery juice because there's no money in it. You don't live on drugs. You live on food and nutrition. So the system is so loused up in so many areas that it's very difficult to maintain a intelligent conversation with people.
Peter,
yes, and we do feel that this system is falling apart, and it's falling apart quickly. There are many scenarios that will enable people to look around for different alternatives. They have to, as Jacques said, they have to lose confidence in their elected leaders and lose their jobs. And also the scenario of automation will, you know, it's cheaper to automate more so than even send products abroad to cheaper labor. So eventually, in order to compete, the different industries will have to automate more and more. That means more people will be out of work, and they will not have the purchasing power to buy the goods turned out. That's again, is a scenario for the end of the free enterprise system.
Right. You don't have to give health care or retirement benefits to a machine.